Caleb, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. And Avery, thank you guys for inviting me in to speak with the student council.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just a little background for everybody. I'm Caleb, this is Avery. We're with the Student Advisory Council, and we're starting a school newspaper this year that will have an edition about every 3 weeks. And our first edition is going to be at the end of the month, sort of a just end of the year edition, let everybody know what's going on. And one of the things we wanted to do is have our new principal, Mr. Bates, come in. So absolutely, thank you for joining us. I'm just going to ask him a few questions, give you all a little bit of an idea of his background, who he is, and what he plans to do here with us at PCHS. So starting off, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your life before administrative education.
Well, I was an officer in the Army Reserve. I was of course, in the Army. Then I went to the reserves. I served actually 9.5 years in the National Guard, and I would become an officer. Then I went to the Army Reserve, where I was a medevac officer. So I had a chance to lead troops. It was a very good experience on that side of outside of education. Wonderful career, enjoyed everything I did. I think, military service helped me so much with paying for my education. It was such a blessing, at that avenue for students, looking into the future and different things with the cost of how education is getting higher. I was able to get all my education paid for free, by serving.
Wow.
And also,
That's a big deal.
it was a great honor to get to go see the world and go overseas, and go overseas to see the world. You know what I mean? I got a chance to see places I never would have ever been, and places I ever done. And just being from a small mountain boy, I was raised in the country hills of Eastern Kentucky, and this is where my heart is. I'm so proud to be a pirate. My educational experience, I coached basketball and taught computers. I was a computer and business teacher. At Owsley County, Jackson City, I was an academic specialist, and in Breathitt, I was like an academic specialist, and also coached basketball all those years. I had like 16 years. I coached basketball and volleyball. And so I had a great career coach and couldn't have asked for better kids. It was such a great opportunity. Then I become principal at Menifee County High School, where I served as principal there before I'm principal here. I'm going to tell you the great folks at Menifee County. It was a great opportunity there. I really loved it. It's a neighboring county here, so it's kind of like I feel like we're all one community. And hopefully a lot of the good things that happened there, I hope they've heard here. I hope to bring things here that hopefully it was there when I learned lessons that maybe things we can do better. And things here, things that, what's better ideals and what's best for students here.
Absolutely, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. And I'd just like to say on behalf of our school and community, thank you for your service in the military, protecting our country. That's a really big deal, and not everybody can do it. And clearly you have a lot of leadership experience in a lot more high intensity situations than.
That's a good way. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it, because I have learned this, that it had me well prepared to be a principal, because just the facts is, because I had to act quick. And when you're leading troops, you make decisions fast and you make decisive, but you make well-informed decisions. And that's what I've learned to do too, is, you take your time making sure you're making the best decision. And ultimately the main goal is you got to make the best decision for the students, because at the end of the day, my passion is education, because I always said every day you're at war with education, because people don't realize the students that you produce now is going to affect their next 5 generations. I had a teacher that really broke that into me, and what they don't realize is what I've done is going to affect not only my child but my grandchildren, their kids and their kids. And it's true, it's almost 5 generations that you affect. So I was thinking, if you don't prepare students for success, leaders set people up for success, not failure.
And that has a ripple effect.
It does. And the thing is about that is students have to know they're supported. And students, I think sometimes students don't see the high quality in their self. Sometimes I want to be that person that makes sure to give that little nudge, lets them know, you know what, you can achieve anything. If I would have listened to everybody that told me that I couldn't, I would have never done anything. Because I remember even my mom fought me going to the Army. She said, no. And I was like, I'm going to do it. It's going to be hard. You can't. I did it. You know what I mean? And everything, and everybody always says, because everybody you'll learn in life, they're so easy to find a way out. But what really truly makes a difference is having the guts and standing up and saying, you know what, having the passion to want to lead and want to succeed. And you'll be surprised that anything that people want to accomplish, it's all a mindset. You can accomplish anything you want to do if you put your mind to it. And I really believe that in students. And seeing it, it's been the most rewarding thing in my career, in my life, is seeing students when they go on and they come back and they write letters, they wrote and become teachers, and they said, it's because you inspired me. That to me is worth more than any money that this school board the school system could ever pay me. When you get those little bitty things that come back and you know that you've made a difference in someone's life, not only their life, but the next generations, you never forget that.
That's a big deal. We're very excited to hear about how passionate you are about education and the future of our community and our youth. That's a really big deal. You answered a few of my questions in one.
Oh, okay.
Swoop there. Okay. I gotta find where I'm at. So you said you've been a principal before over in Menifee County. Just tell us about that experience a little bit. Some of the things you learned.
Oh, I loved it. I tell you, I love being high school principal. I love it. It's my passion. I love working with, because I think because I look back on it, I can remember being an 18-year-old kid sitting in a classroom. I can remember not being a few weeks later sitting in basic training, had no idea what the world was going to be like, and I'm so passionate about the opportunity to knowing that I have a chance to prepare those students for when they leave this building to be successful. And that's what I learned there, and I really feel so proud of the things I've seen the students just went on and accomplished. And the thing is, and I'm big on is this, what I really think that I learned so much is this, is students have to have a voice in the school. And every month we will do a survey, and I call it Congress there. We will meet, and I'll put up a Google slide, and the students will tell you there from Menifee County, whatever they chose to do, we done it. And one time they wanted to bring your tractor to school day. And I think we had like 70 tractors that showed up, but we had tractors in our school. So the FFA actually showed the tractors. And it was a great experience because a lot of us, I did not know a lot. And I'm a farmer, but I had no idea about all the different things, because I was always just a tobacco farmer, and you know what I mean? But I got a chance to see people that done other kinds of crops and done, animals and different things. But it was great. It was great for the community to come in.
And it was the students' idea.
It was students. Everything is student driven. It's student led. The students come in. I said, make me a presentation. That's what they'll say, because they vote. Because I started, and it wasn't even an option to come up. I remember I always try to do every month. I want something here. My main goal is this: if students will come to school, you will learn. And this is something else I challenge students to, and it's really, I think, makes a difference in the culture of your school. Students have to take responsibility for their education. I hear a lot of times, I've heard this, and teachers, sometimes they'll say, oh, this teacher's not really being effective here. There's teachers not trying to do this. Students have to push your teachers too. It goes both ways. Sometimes the teacher, because I've been in the classroom for 16 years, I knew both ends of it. There were sometimes I felt like I wasn't really connecting with this class. There were some classes I feel like I connected more with.
And if the students are apathetic about it and they don't care, well, you can't teach them anything. You can't force it down their throat.
Right. And in 2000, and one of my favorite moments I ever had in teaching was in Owsley County, and I was a young teacher at the time. We actually wrote a full movie and filmed it, and went to an independent film festival. We wrote a movie. It was called One Man's Revenge, and it was actually about somebody had the ideal of the students, because I said it has to be their ideals. I had every senior first period, and then what we done is I said, tell me what you want to do to come to school. I said, if you ain't there, you don't film, you're out the movie. You're not wrote in, and everybody came to school. They challenged me, and this is what I mean by push your teacher. There was mornings they wanted to film like do and outside the scenes and dark scenes. So I had to be at school at 6 o'clock in the morning so we could film like they wanted to take off. Not only that, the community was so good about in the process of that movie. The police department came in and worked with us. The EMS department, the paramedics and the ambulances came and filmed scenes for us. Had stretchers, and then we had the funeral homes even do it. They had it because it was about an urban legend about someone who was haunting the school, But it was a great experience as an educator.
And they cared about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, they pushed me though, and that's the thing I started learning about education. Here's the thing I suggest to students: if you're having a problem here, you have to take charge of your own education and your own destiny. That's something I've learned from myself. When I was in the Army, it was the number one thing. When I was a private in the Army, when I started out enlisted, they made sure I was fed. They pretty much took me to raise. They fed me, they clothed me, they put me to bed, they gave me my room, they done everything. I become an officer and a leader. You have to take command of your own destiny if you're gonna get promoted. You know what I mean? You have to do your own packets. They don't hand feed you number four. You're the leader. You take control of it. And I learned that's the same thing about education. You take control of your own future. Don't look back for someone to take advantage and do it and push you to do it. You push them. You say, I want to do this. I want to be an engineer. You push your calculus teacher. You push your teacher and say, give me more. And the thing is, you'll learn teachers will feed off that. And teachers are hungry.
Encouraging.
Yeah, it's hungry. And teachers get hungry. And it's just amazing environment that when you see that all start coming to place, because nothing is more rewarding to every teacher in this building I've met than whenever they see a student's light bulb light up. And I think that's every educator. Because like I said, I've had the days, and I'm gonna tell you, and anyone will say this, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm a sports guru, you probably tell by coaching, but I do not like to lose at nothing. And the thing is, I'm competitive, at nature. And the same thing and I say that about everything about ACT. It's not just, on the ball. I mean, I want us to be, we're going to be the highest ACT scores because I know we have the brightest students that's going to push themselves.
Right, and especially with COVID, it's been a little rocky.
Yeah.
Do you have a strategy on how you think we can get those test scores up? I mean,
I do.
That's not an easy feat.
I do, and I'll tell you what it is there. Here's what it is, and this is what people will learn in life. You trust people. You have to have buy-in. You have to take, it's not me, one person, I can't do it. You know what I mean? But what I can do is to give them the resources and give the people everything they need to be successful. As a leader, I have the job of setting people up for success. I have to make sure that the reading department has everything that they have available. Whatever they want at their needs, I'm going to work to make sure they got it. If it's the math department, I want to make sure they got what they need. Any department heads that you see, writing's a big thing right now coming out, the new writing policies. Right. One thing's very exciting about this school that I'm so big on, like I was talking about filming a movie, is a project-based learning. That is such a great opportunity to actually come in, because that's all I'm about.
So you're on board with that?
Oh, big time. I think you have to have it. The reason is, as a student, I can remember sitting in the classrooms. The days of sitting, it's actually statistically proven, if I sit at the chalkboard and talk for an hour, you're going to retain 10%. If you actually do it, you're going to retain 90%. So project-based kind of makes a lot of sense, you know what I mean? Because when you're doing it, you're learning how to apply it.
So where do you think you move from instructing to really learning and feeding off of the content that we're being given here as students?
Yeah.
Where do you
as
think
students,
that is?
Here's what it has to be, I think, as a student, and this is where everyone here, and I think it's a great thing, is learning is individualized. As much as people want to think everybody learns the same, that's totally impossible. I may pick up a different way than you. She may pick up a different way than we do. You have to find what is your way to learn. And that's why I say, as a person, as a student, you have to take control of your education. You have to know how you learn best. And I think sometimes students are so afraid. What I want to do is break down the communication gaps. That's what I know when we first met. The first thing I said the first day here is, there's going to be so much communication coming out of this building that people was going to know everything. I want everything going on in this building going out.
Now I've got your phone number saved in my phone.
And my phone is going to be available I want it in the paper. I want it on all the school newspapers, my personal phone. My number is 606-568-6625. Feel free to call it with any concerns, anything that can make life better for students. Teach anything here, because at the end of the day, number one thing is student safety, number two is student learning. And that's what every adult is here to do.
It's a bold move.
And I know, and the thing is, but I will learn this though, on the other side of it is, I want transparency. I want people to understand anything going on in this building, they're going to know about it. If something bad is going on in this building, I'm going to make a call and a decision, and I'll post about it immediately. I don't want nobody guessing what's going on. I think sometimes we miss a good opportunity too, is a lot of times if you're not communicating effectively, people think the only communication sometimes people get is the bad stuff. Because the bad stuff will get out. Right. If something bad goes wrong, it gets out quick.
And of course, as the council, working on this newspaper, that's something that we're very passionate about, something that we're going to work towards, because like you said, it comes down to those communication channels and the information that's getting out, and we don't want it to just be the negative things, and a lot of the time it's easy for information to get skewed in one direction or for people to not understand what's going on, and so I think we certainly share that interest in that.
Yeah, I'm huge on that. I'm big on the principal's webpage. I want it updated every week. We'll work with student council, keep stuff with that as well. I think the more that we stay informed, and the thing is, I want everybody to understand this too, we're pirates, you know what I mean? And all the way around this whole county. And I want everyone in this county to know this is not a school, this is a school for the whole community. This is our focal point. And I want I want to challenge the community to understand something. They need to take an ownership in the preparation of their students here. They need to see the chances. If it means we bring a tractor to school day, or if it means we do something that gets the community in here to teach kids, there's amazing things that the community has to offer. It's getting them in here knowing that these are open arms You know what I mean?
It takes a village, right?
You know what I mean? It takes a village, and I want them to know they have an open arms here to reach out. They want to be a part of helping, student learning. And if there's opportunities we have with business partners to get students some co-ops, I think that's huge. Because the thing is, their hands-on experience, work experience, it's invaluable,
Right.
And I really want to push that.
And you know a little bit about experience. You were talking about earlier your job over in Menifee County as a principal. So now you have the advantage of hindsight now that you've done that job. So we've talked a little bit about some of your specific plans, but I'd like to ask you on a more general level, what would you do differently, or what will you do differently here at PCHS, and what are you going to do similarly?
I think I had a real good communication channel, and I think the community really appreciated that. I think the communication channels was very good. I did learn this too. The thing about moving to school and changing different directions and doing things as you keep going is I got to continue to grow myself. And I'll tell you what, and this is what people sometimes forget is I learned that it takes a village, and that you got to use your village, and it's using it properly. I don't have to do it all. You know what I mean? That was what this job, I probably I would average from 6 in the morning to 10, 11 at night every day. You know what I mean? And I learned that, I have a lot of passionate people that wants to do the work too. It's sharing it. You don't have to do it all yourself. And I think what happens is I think not only that, I think you have better buy-in, of course, from everyone sees, the commitment. And I think not only that, and this goes back just hindsight, it's 2020, they always say, is the Army, always taught us as leaders build leaders. And I think, I have to practice that more. You know what I mean? As practice what you preach type deal. It's going to be me and making teachers leaders. And just not just teachers and students, but students as well. Students is the best resource we have. Y'all outnumber us. Did you know students outnumber us? Teachers and administrators greatly outnumber us. Almost probably, I'm gonna say 20 to 1, roughly estimate. I'm not sure about the exact number, but probably about 20 to 1. So you're all the strongest resource. So we need to learn how to use that resource by the most effective way we can too. You know what I mean? To make this school the best school in the state. That's what we're gonna strive for.
So I can tell there's a couple things that you've been really big on in this conversation. You've talked about adaptability, adapting to different learning techniques, and secondly, responsibility. The responsibility that everyone in the community shares. The students' responsibility to take ownership for our own learning, the teacher's responsibility. You even called on the community to be responsible. So I'd like to ask you, what do you think your most important responsibility to the student body is?
Is to be your champion. Knowing that right now, every student has my number. Every student has a problem. I'm the most approachable guy that they'll ever meet. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be there for you when you need me. You know what I'm saying? And if it can be in your darkest moment, it could be times that you'll be out, maybe even in a situation you're not comfortable with. But knowing you have that number to pick up a phone and dial, that somebody's gonna be there to take care of you and keep you safe. You know what I mean? I wanna be that person. You know what I'm saying?
Your biggest responsibility is dependability.
Dependability, and not only that, knowing this, being your leader and knowing that I'm there for you, and that at the end of the day, that when you need anything, I'm going to make this learning experience the best opportunity that I can make it for you. Not only educationally, all the way around. I want it to be a well-rounded educational experience. There's so much that goes into educational experience. I want to challenge every student, and when I say that is this, every student needs to be involved in some kind of club. It can be sports, it can be student council, it can be, if it's chess club, we need everybody involved in clubs in some sort of extracurricular activity, something that they enjoy doing, and the reason I've learned that is is that sometimes you build stronger relationships and groups with people that you share a lot in common. If you notice that people and I've already been here just experiencing as I walk through the cafeteria and see people certain people like to be around certain people. It's just friends. That's how we are as humans. It's human nature. So I think it's important though that we share those interests. And I think it's this, that we understand that everybody's interests ain't the same as theirs, but everybody has the same level of respect. You know what I mean? For everybody's own opinion. Because the thing is, what some people may see different, if you really look back at it and see it, when you look at the whole picture, that everybody's ideals can maybe totally opposite ends of the spectrum. But man, if you look at it from a big outside looking in, you get a whole aspect, because you got to look at the world we live in.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. And the thing is, seeing people with different, you can learn by supporting. Learn by being, and not always being, because I think sometimes we're so quick. I've learned even when I was in the classroom, it's so quick to judge when I think a student was not trying to perform. You know what I mean? And I've learned this too, as being a disciplinarian. I had a chance to do discipline. I've done that even before I become principal, assistant, kind of done at Brett. And the thing I learned there was by doing those and doing it at Jackson was the thing about discipline is sometimes why people's doing that is not because they're really trying to be a bad behavior. It's trying to teach the right behavior. You know what I'm saying? And what may seem fitting for me may not be fitting for you. And it's been able to just, I guess, respect everybody's space and educate.
Do you think it'll be easier to carry out, disciplinary action and also deal with the underlying situations now that we have a dean of students coming in?
Oh, it will, because it's more support. And the thing is, you'll see is this. I think students, a lot of times with the actions and the discipline, I think you miss an opportunity to really change a kid's life, because sometimes they're acting out more than they really are. There's more to the problem when you really start working on it than what the surface is showing. Sometimes, did you know this statistic? I'll throw something at you. Did you know sometimes some of the smartest students and IQs has been proven to be some of the biggest disciplinary problems? It was talked about at a Harvard study. I just seen that. I thought it was amazing because they wasn't being challenged in the classroom. So really, it's the student at fault. That's the thing. Can you really punish someone? You think about it, you look at it, and you see the behavior. I think the thing is you find out what's causing the behavior. That's the key thing. I think it's an approach on how you deal with discipline makes a big difference. Because what it is, if you don't fix the problem, you're just going to kick the can down the road and deal with it again tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? It's really the truth. That's been my experience.
So you think we have to adapt our approach with dealing with those types of situations? That's something.
Here's the thing. It's pretty simple. The site-based council is so important to a school. Not only do they hire me, they hire the principal. That's the number one. But it's my job, and it will happen. They set the policies of this school. And I will tell you the one thing I do bring to the table is, you could probably tell, I was an officer and I'm very stern. The rules go to everyone the same. There's not one person. This is it. This is what the policies of site-based council says. They make this discipline real easy for us because we're going to follow that policy handbook. And if it says this is what happens first time, this is what happens first time. Because the council entrusted me, they hired me to enforce their policies. And they will be enforced by the way the book says. And to me, I've learned this. Some people may not always, but here's the thing. If you don't like how a policy was, I had this happen at Menifee, and it was great. And students done it. There were some policies we had that they didn't like. And I said, well, let me tell you what, I'm hard to enforce these policies, and this is what the policy says. I said, if you got a problem, show up at site-based council meeting, and here's the policy. I said, show up at the council meeting, present to the 3 teachers and the 2 parents, because I said, I don't make the policy. Principal I have no power in making that policy, but I'm in charge to enforce it. And the thing is, I'll say, and they came in and actually presented, and we actually changed the dress code. The students had the dress code changed, and
that was a very hot topic earlier this year.
Yeah.
So
and the students came in, but I told them, I said, here's the deal. You're going to all be treated the same. Everybody here, if you wear it, not to. Boy, girl, don't matter. If you break the dress code, you're going to have to change. And that's what we did. And I said, they all, it'd be 20 a day. And it's all, and they're crying to me, But I said, let's get this straight. What does the policy say? This is why it was hard to do, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to do it. If you want this changed, there's a way to change this. It's called the democratic way we do in this country. Is you go to the council and you tell them why you don't like this policy, and you present it. If they want to change it, I'll go what they say. If the policy doesn't change, this is what we're going to live by. We're all going to live by the same rules here, And I think at the end of the day, I think that's what every student wants. Because students are the first one, I will say this as principal, and not only that, by leading troops or whatever I've done is this. If I give one student a favor, one time, every student in that building will know before the next period is over. They will know if they see somebody broke dress code, that walk by and they see it, that one person gets by with it and everybody else gets dress coded, you know it, quick as I know it, why has Bates not done anything? You know it good as I know it. Anything goes on, why is Bates not? So I'm gonna tell you, it's even playing field. You know what I mean? It's gonna happen. It's fair rules, fair game. If there's a policy as a student, I encourage you when you get your student handbooks, as a student council, you all need to really look at that. Here starting in July, I'll meet with the council and we'll go through policy, we'll go through that book. But I would encourage the student council between now and then, I'd be talking with my student, everybody you all can, to see if there's any policies in there you want changed. That'd be a great opportunity to do that, because if you don't, that's the rules, and we will go by them.
And I'd like to just interject that being a representative on the council, there's 12 of us, and I can tell you that there is strength in numbers. If there are a lot of people behind the cause, I mean, it makes a difference. It really does.
Oh, it does. It does.
And we can make a difference. We have that opportunity.
Well, I promise you this to the students. If you want to make a change, you're going to have a voice. You're going to have a chance. You want to be at the council and you want to talk about it, I promise you, you'll be on the agenda. You know what I mean? And you'll have your chance, your moment. And there's nothing makes me prouder as a principal than to see students do that, if you really want to know the truth. Because I see students taking ownership. I see students being leaders. And those are the students you're going to see when you come on down the road, down the day that I see now. That's doctors. I've had doctors I go see that was my students. I see nurses. I see, that's the thing about having a long career I've had. You get a chance, and there's nothing more rewarding, because I can remember the times that I had them as freshmen. I always loved, it was just because freshman year is the hardest year of high school. I've learned, I think it's the hardest year of schools, because I've been in a 7 through 12 school, a K through 12 school, and a 9 through 12, and a 9 through 12, and now 9 through 12. But freshman year is definitely the hardest year, I think, in any school, because you're adapting. Now it counts. Everybody's learning it's keys money. Everything counts from here on out. If you think about it, in middle school, unfortunately, unless you've taken a lot of high school classes, even those, they're not weighted. They're not, now you're playing for money. You're playing for dollars. When you enter this building, you're taking your future in your hand, and they're young. We were asking people, because I remember back being a freshman, did I know what I wanted to do? If you told me when I was a freshman I would have done in my career what I've been able to do, I would say there's no way. But the thing is, you don't know how much the opportunities that you'll have, and the opportunities that's going to come along for you all, and the leadership opportunities that you're going to make for yourself.
Right.
So,
that leads me into my final question for you. The last couple of years, they've really been a big learning curve for everybody in our schools, and so it's been a rough time. Like you said, there's that transition of responsibility when you go from middle school to high school. Now you're here. Now you're responsible for yourself, for your education. You're responsible for your community in a lot of ways. If you get plugged in and you get involved, which you absolutely should. And so, but it's been tough these last couple of years due to COVID and
Yes.
other factors. But although the pandemic is coming to a close, things have certainly changed. And so, I'd like to ask you, what can you and the administration do to help our teachers tackle this challenge?
That's a good one, and I'll tell you what, I'm glad you asked that question, because I think that right there is really going to be the important thing moving forward. We're now past the COVID pandemic. We're out of that. There's no more COVID, because I feel like even myself, you could use COVID sometimes as a crutch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I feel like sometimes, my son graduated during COVID, and his senior year, he wasn't even in the school building the whole year, you know what I mean? And I kind of thought, well, that was kind of, to me, I just remember how much fun I had being a student and being involved, and I think, sometimes I feel like, it's unfortunately, it's not the students or the teachers that asked for the pandemic. None of us wanted it, but now we've got to readjust. We're in a transition phase. We're transitioning back. And not only that, if you noticed the transition of people socially, there's a difference even, if you notice going to the grocery store, because I still see sometimes even, I'm talking not just in schools, anywhere. If you notice, sometimes you see people seem to be a little bit more standoffish than what we was used to, because we went,
staying away from everybody.
And I'm noticing that. And the thing is, you want to respect people's space and, and all that stuff. And I think there's going to be that time right now. I think it's going to be very important as we start the next school year, start out on a very good, on a strong note. Open communication, straight talk, understanding expectations. students, because everyone, and the thing is, unfortunately, in leadership, you'll see everybody kind of shares the same ideals, but they have different philosophies. You know what I mean? And different ways of doing things, and what their visions are, and what's worked for them, what they felt like was success. And but I think right now, one thing we're fortunate is that I've been able to meet the teacher. We have wonderful staff here, and we've got a wonderful administrator. I mean, and Miss Dr. Skidmore is amazing. You know what I mean? Martina knows her stuff like, I mean, it's unreal. You know what I mean? How fortunate are you to walk in as a principal and have someone here like that? You know what I mean? That's with a doctorate in education. You know what I mean? That's very strong and understands the building and and all the things, because there's so much that goes on inside of a curriculum that people, that looking out when I was a student, and really even think about going through undergrad, I didn't really understand the importance of a curriculum, as being a student, until I started becoming a teacher. Then I thought, wow, man, you got so much you got to get through, timing and pacing and learning and how to do that. And that's what we really want to work on here, is making sure, we get teachers have the resources. Because I'm telling you something, it's a fight. People would find how hard it is. I know when I was a teacher in the classroom, struggling to grab anything you could grab. It's almost like you grab an ink pen if you see, if somebody was giving away ink pens at a conference, you're dying to get them because your students are going to need them. You know what I mean? I just want to try to make sure we have all the resources that our students are successful. I know the playing field's kind of changed a lot through the years, and now, I think now it's really been technology.
We got, of course, big deal. Now we're a one-to-one school with the Chromebook, so that's a really big deal.
Yeah, that's huge for me. That was like one of the first things one of the first questions I had, was becoming a principal. Because the one-to-one to me is huge, because I think that's a chance. I know every student has accessibility. That way I know I can send out a survey, and that's how I look at it. I call it Congress, because you got to vote, and you'll learn the power of a vote. If you decide you just want to not see my email, because at first everyone just didn't, but then they started seeing, wait a minute, and I'd say, well, here's the results, and I'll post it, and everybody will see it. Well, I didn't vote. Well, you get to live with what everybody did. Next time I'd vote. That's what I'd tell you. And then you learn the power of voting. And I think that's something else as you learn is right now. You got voting coming up here in the next week or so. Primaries. And then it's important that you exercise that right, because as a veteran, I felt like that's what we served for, is the right, that freedom, to be able to vote. And I think it's important to students, and I think that's a good way to teach students. You vote on what things or something you want to see changed. If there's things you want to see policies changed, I think if you want to see, and I think something else too is this: I want students to know they have a voice and ownership of the school. That there's things, if there's things that students want to do, I want to do everything in us as men, the administrative team, and the teachers will work together to make sure those students you get the experiences that you want to get. Because I think sometimes, have you ever been in those situations where you think there's something I think would be so great here, and you watch another school do it, you think, why did we do something like that?
Especially in the region that we live in. Let's just be honest here. Let's be open about this. There's not a whole lot of money going around like there are in a lot of other places, and it's easy to get a little envious sometimes when you look at all these other places. Schools in Lexington, schools out of state, and you think, well, we don't have that, and it's easy to feel cheated a little bit. So I understand what you're saying.
I think this is what's important though, is you'd be surprised we can do things even better than them. It don't take money. It takes community, vision, student vision. That's the key. Because sometimes you got to think about us as a teacher. I'm going to sit here as a teacher besides a principal for a minute. As a principal, I'm worried about the number one thing, my number one concern is the safety of this building. I'm going to make sure everybody in this building is a safe 24/7. You know what I mean? Everybody is going to be safe. My second thing is I want to make sure everyone here is getting instruction. Second, safe, getting instruction, proper instruction. You know what I mean? And then third, and like it is the experience. I want to make sure that you're getting the experience that you're looking to get. And I mean that from an overall thing. It don't have to be money related. We have resources. We have things that students have the visions. You all need to share it, because I'm so consumed with doing this. Teachers are consumed with, they have a curriculum in front of them. We have the expectation they teach this curriculum in this time frame. And sometimes you've got this much curriculum, you've got this much time frame. So sometimes we get so wrapped up as adults. I've caught myself as a teacher, as a principal, worrying about all the things going on, that we expect the students, if you don't show us the vision, we're consumed thinking of things. And that's why I try to make student voice such a big, strong point of the school. Because sometimes we, as adults, want to step back. It's good to see us step back, to see you all take charge and tell us that we want to bring a tractor to school today, or we want, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, or we want, like they wanted days, you know what I mean, like we want a day where, you know, we do, I mean, I had a day we wanted to do creative writing. We wanted to do a whole creative day, you know what I mean? I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful, you know what I mean? And use it in all content. So, I mean, what I'm saying is you'll find things that people will vote and students will want to do that really don't cost a whole lot of money, and the community would love. I think that the community is the most underused resource in a lot of districts that I've been associated with.
And that's a benefit that we have living in a small town like this. I mean, there may be some resources that we don't have as much access to, but we, particularly for us students, there's not as many of us, but that gives us more of a voice. It gives us more power to express what we believe, what we want to see, our vision, like you said, and get the community involved. Absolutely.
And I'll tell you one other day that I thought was real good that we did one time, and this is we done we called it a Heritage Day, and that was a student-led ideal, and that was talking about some of the heritages of this region and this school and this county. And inside of that, we had a whole day, like half the day, where we just took a half a day and we went through it and had the elders would come in and talk about things that they experienced. You know what I mean? And have like assembly type style. And they would sit up, and actually, it was kind of neat. They even had a pot kettle. Like one lady had come in with a pot kettle, big pot, and had done soup beans and showed how they used to cook them. And like the students could eat. You know, they would show how they cook, you know. And I thought that was very, very informative, the ideal that students come up with. But my main goal is this. I want it to be student. What you see, student voice, is going to be used and heard here. Is the key.
Well, that sounds like a pretty great vision to me. That's a lot of responsibility on you all too that are watching this. Mr. Bates seems to me like he's providing to us a pretty good opportunity, and I think that especially with the struggles that we've been dealing with the last couple of years, it's time that we take a hold of that and take responsibility for ourselves. So I want to thank you, Mr. Bates, for coming in and doing this with us.
Thank you so much.
It's been an honor. I'm sure everybody's going to appreciate getting to hear your opinions and your voice on everything. So we really appreciate that. I also want to say, before we close this, a very big thank you from the whole school to Miss Ritchie for coming in, stepping up to the plate. Halfway through the year, it's a really big deal. We certainly needed leadership, and you provided that to us, and you did an exceptional job. So thank you for that. Thank you very much, Miss Ritchie.
Yes.
All right.
And I want to share my number one last time: 606-568-6625. If you have any concerns or questions or anything, visions that you have for the school or ideals you think could help make students experience better, please let me know. You know what I mean? To make learning better. Please share it with me.
Absolutely.